This is what it's all about, folks. It is wide open in 7A as an example. 7A in South Florida, we got three monster teams in 7A, and any one of them can find themselves in Fort Myers. There's no real front runner right now. And that's how we're going to kick off and spend most of the time here on the Curtain Call podcast here on the Man on Second YouTube channel. Thanks everyone for tuning in. But yeah, it is going to be crazy. It's going to be a dogfight, as they say. And I'm going to tell you what could be very impactful was something that was very unfortunate that I witnessed this past week was a very key injury to one of the best players in Broward County, which could impact how the 7A race works here in South Florida and who ends up going to Fort Myers trying to win the state title. But before we dive too deeply into the topics, everyone, yes, let's do the formalities. Please like and subscribe to the channel. Hit the hype button. Something else, you might start noticing on the channels here. I put these little promotional tags on there and I'm trying to keep it related. They're on my shorts right now. They'll be on my videos, and I'm trying to keep it, these advertisements that are geared toward you, the guys who are playing, the girls who are playing. So if you see on the site there a little icon for a glove or a bat or cleats or a catcher's glove or mask, and you click on that, if you're in the market for one of these items, I do get commission. That kind of helps fund grow this channel. I'm always going to keep the content free. But to help grow this and all the money that I do make goes right back into building the product. I am a one-man show here at Man on Second. So yes, if you're inclined to need a bat or whatever, you just click on that ad and you can find the details for doing so there. But now let's get right into the meat of it. The key, 7A, first of all, the highest classification in the state of Florida. Down here in Broward County, we have West Broward. We have Stoneman Douglas. Stoneman Douglas won 5 straight state titles. Down in Miami-Dade County, there is Columbus High School. Those are the front runners. That doesn't mean another school. Then if you want to go to Palm Beach, we got Jupiter High, very talented team as well. But what happened, I'm going to start with West Broward because I witnessed something very unfortunate and to one of my favorite players in the county, a kid I've covered for many years, Manuel Sarcos, the great catcher for the West Broward Bobcats. He unfortunately was hit in the face with a pitch and sustained pretty serious injuries. He is getting better, I can tell you that much. So we're happy for Mano that he is on the road to recovery. But the question will he be able to play the rest of the year? Or if he does, how well he will be able to play? First and foremost, our thoughts, prayers out for Mano. Hope everyone, just a very unfortunate situation. A kid who plays a lot of baseball. He's up there with the bases loaded in the first inning against Fort Lauderdale High. The pitch came up and in. Sadly, it hit him right in the face. And so, again, a very scary situation, but can report that Mano is feeling better and improving. But again, whether, how fast he gets down the field will be determined by the doctors and how he feels as well. But in his absence, that puts a big void because Mano, he was hitting, Manuel Sarcos was, he was hitting 360 and he is leading West Broward with 24 RBIs as their cleanup hitter. Defensively, he's a standout, quick as a cat back there, very active, a kid who really plays with a high level of energy, brings leadership, brings passion, can throw runners out, not afraid to throw behind bases. So without him, they don't really have a true backup that's experienced. So they're mix and matching. They used infielder Isaiah DeValle back there in that game where he got hurt. And then I believe they used junior outfielder Sergio Garcia behind the plate. So something to keep an eye on because West Broward is great pitching, and you obviously need a great catcher to handle pitching like this. So let's break it down with West Broward. They are now 13-6 in 7A. They're in District 14. After the injury, they went to Key West and played. Key West, one of the really tough teams in 4A. They have a really good chance to go and go to Fort Myers and which would be amazing for them, but we'll see how that goes. We're highlighting more 7A in this particular podcast. But they went down there and split 2 games without Mano behind the plate. They lost on Friday night with Ivan Sabater, their great pitcher, commit, potential draft pick, pitched very well. That was like a 3-1 game. But then they bounced back, won game 2 on Saturday. And I tell you right now, Everett Suazo, my buddy Everett, I've covered Everett at 3 different schools now, and know his family well, and just really happy for Everett because he is stepping up. I think he pitched like 4 innings against Key West, but whether he's come up with timely hits and pitching well and just doing a lot of really good things. So just a couple other players I want to kind of highlight. I'm going to get back to Everett in a minute. Isaiah DeValle, he's leading West Broward in batting average at 373. Like I told you, Mano behind the plate, like I said, Manuel Sarcos, 366, 9 doubles, 2 homers, 24 RBIs. Huge bat not in the lineup for the Bobcats. But someone who could help. The good side for West Broward is they got a really good lineup. They can hit, and they got really good players. Shortstop A.J. Cruz, I believe he homered over in Key West in Saturday's game. AJ's got 5 homers now, hitting 346. Reggie Rodriguez have great senior year, first baseman, left-handed hitter, right-handed pitcher, 333 batting average. Ethan Lindor, one of my favorite players, a real catalyst at the top of the order. Ethan's hitting 316, 15 stolen bases. Adrian A-Dog Bermudez, playing second and pitching, hitting 309. But I want to go back to Suazo. I'm going to bring up, this was in that game against Fort Lauderdale. It may not seem like much because it's just a kind of a routine, slap single up the middle to drive in a run. But it came at a key moment because early in the game, West Broward took a nice lead early, 3-4 run lead right off the bat, maybe even 5 in the first. Obviously, they dealt with Mano's injury, really created a very somber vibe, as you might expect. The game was very, very, somberly played, and West Broward got off to a huge lead. And then next thing you know, Fort Lauderdale got right back in it. Finn O'Brien, I believe, hit a grand slam. And next thing you know, it was like 8-6, like in the 6th inning or so. And so in the bottom of the 6th, they added on about 4 runs and won the game, I believe, 12-6. So West Broward did. And what they did was with 2 outs, they didn't get that run in. And Everett comes up, and this is just a prime example of a hitter trying not to do too much and just kind of going with the pitch and creating an RBI scenario. Let's get this thing rolling. Let's go to the top. But just watch what Everett does here. He just kind of shortens his swing, just kind of, you can see he stays back. He goes right up the middle and punches the ball into center field for an RBI hit. Big hit because it gave him a little more breathing room. Again, I want you to kind of watch Everett's hands and just look how he just kind of sees the pitch coming. He didn't take this gigantic swing trying to hit a home run or do too much. Obviously hit the ball as hard as you can is a philosophy, but this is knowing the situation. There's 2 outs. They needed an insurance run, get momentum back on their side, get a little bit of breathing room. Again, I thought that's just a really good piece of hitting, not doing too much, go with the pitch. The pitcher wasn't overpowering. So instead of trying to naturally, a lot of kids see someone who's not throwing as hard and they want to crush the ball and they end up rolling over, popping up, hitting a long fly ball, but just getting under it. Outfielder catches it. And I just thought this was just a really good piece of hitting by Everett, who is doing a lot of really good things. Everett's Barry commit. So doing a really good job pitching, hitting, showing leadership. This is several times now I've seen Everett come up with a chance to add on runs or in need of a big RBI, coming through with that big RBI. There was a highlight similar to this one, maybe even a little more dramatic, of Adrian Bermudez did it like in the first inning where he just kind of stuck the bat out. Really good piece of hitting to just kind of get the ball rolling early and got to hit up the middle. But I could watch this again. It might seem simple. It might seem basic. But again, I noticed this stuff, and I tell you, college coaches, college scouts, big league type scouts, they pay attention to how players play the game within the game. Again, one of my themes here, and all 4 metrics. People don't think I'm not some old man hollering against metrics. When I was at MLB.com, I was on the ground floor pumping the growth of StatCast. But, unfortunately, we've become too much of a play to the metrics. Showcases, focus on metrics. Anytime, you talk to a player or a pitcher or whatever about how hard does he throw? How hard does he hit the ball? How big is he? And those are always overriding themes. It's a product of travel ball, showcase ball. I know the colleges look forward to. It's natural to want biggest, strongest, fastest type of player. But, we're in the midst of this. We're sometimes losing players doing basics and knowing the fundamentals and having a feel for the sport. I think that knowledge, aptitude, and we're going to get to a play after I do the 7A segment that I'm going to talk about fundamentals and the lack thereof. Pitching for West Broward. Obviously, I mentioned Ivan Sabater, 2.78 ERA, doing really hard, just having a really good year. Drawing a lot of aces, drawing a lot of really A-list teams. Ace Aguila having a great year, hitting a 1.24 ERA. A-Dog Adrian Bermudez with a 2.30 ERA, and Everett Suazo on the mound now with a 2.3 ERA. So what's for West Broward? Obviously, they got to kind of move on until Mano comes back, and hopefully he does. But if he doesn't, they're going to have to kind of figure it out. This is a year that, West Broward is, West Broward had this core together since they were basically freshmen. And I remember seeing those guys. We're talking Mano, we're talking A-Dog, we're talking Ace, Reggie Rodriguez, Ivan. These guys had all kind of been together. That nucleus had been together. And when they were sophomores, they had a great player in Jason Wax, left-handed hitting outfielder, who caught a little bit, who's now at Tulane. I encourage people, look up what Jason Wax, W-A-C-H-S, is doing in Tulane. He was in like 320. Here's a guy who is going to find himself drafted at some point and probably in the portal and looking for maybe an SEC type team. But Jason, I bring that up because Jason was there kind of mentoring this young group. And I remember when Jason was like a senior, he got hurt and missed time, and that seemed like a devastating injury, which it was for West Broward to be without a premier player like Jason Wax. But I remember that time, that's when these sophomores like Ace and Ivan and A-Dog and Manu and Reggie, they all really raised their game. And then when Jason came back, those guys had gotten better. They infused like one of the top players in the state. And next thing you know, that team, was a very, very good team, formidable, got to like the regional finals. I believe they were eliminated by Stoneman Douglas, which has become very common for not just West Broward, but for everyone, because Stoneman Douglas remains the standard bearer. And let's switch over to the Eagles. Now 16-5. Kind of an interesting little run they were on, last week after coming back from the Bishop Gorman tournament event over there in Las Vegas, because they beat Cardinal Gibbons, and Gibbons is pesky. Their teams don't like playing them. It's always a well-played, well-pitched game. They play fundamentally sound, but Douglas kind of handled them pretty easily. But then they came home and lost to Flanagan, 10-6. And huge win for the Falcons in 6A. Flanagan going up there, big win for them. Happy for Noel Figueroa and the Flanagan kids to experience that. Obviously a tough one for Douglas, who had been playing so well. But then Douglas turns around. They go down to play a really good 4A team in Berlin Jesuit in Miami. Gio pitched that game. They had a big lead, but when Gio came out of the game, ended up being a 10-9 Stoneman Douglas win. So Douglas right now, they're a little bit up and down, but obviously, the Eagles are battle tested. They're ready to go. And we'll see. We're very interested to see how these teams perform once they lead into the districts, and then how they perform in districts. Jake Rizzo, great year, hitting 333 with 3 homers. He's leading Douglas in batting average. RJ Ruiz has been really, really solid pickup to get him. 8 home runs, 305 batting average, 20 RBIs, and 21 runs scored. So he's kind of been doing it all for them. Cade Rowley hitting 302. Lorenzo Laurel, the Florida signing, 279, 4 doubles, 2 homers. Gio Rojas, of course, everyone talks about Gio and just how great he is. 0.59 ERA, 5-1 record, 35 and 2/3 innings with 65 strikeouts and just 8 walks. But we all know what Gio can do. The question is for Douglas, how do they do when Gio is not there? They certainly got the talent there. They got Reed Daddick with 25 innings pitched, and a big pickup for them to get Drew Boivin. I think I'm pronouncing it right, Boivin. He had been injured earlier in the year. I saw that he pitched an inning against Flanagan, so good to get him back on the mound. Obviously, if he's able to go, it adds to their pitching depth. And again, after Easter, kind of heading into that final week before districts, Douglas will be at Chaminade. Then they're home against Key West, which I noted earlier. Key West, really good team. Again, they're going to make a lot of noise at 4A. And then let's go down to Miami to cap off 7A. We got Columbus, the Explorers at 15-3. They're in that 7A District 16, along with Coral Gables, Miami High, and Ferguson. They also, like Douglas, went to the Bishop Gorman tournament in Vegas. They got bumped. They won a game or two there as well, but they got bumped by Berkeley Prep, which won it all. Berkeley Prep's out of Tampa. They have to emerge as one of the real front runners in the state overall. I forgot what they're in. They were 3 or 4, or 2, 3 or 4, whatever. I don't think they're in 4, but maybe they are. Lost 9-4 to them. They also out there, they beat Bishop Gorman. On Monday, they get Spanish River, and Wednesday at home against Chaminade Madonna. Again, the Lions, always a really, really tough team. Leading Columbus, they got a bunch of D1 players all over the place, very talented team. Robbie, your last name, buddy, I need the phonetics. Oarzon, 21 runs scored, 535 batting average. I apologize for butchering your name, Robbie. Robbio, they call you. I'll call you Robbio. Oarzon, Juan Jacome hitting 378. Juan Jacome's a really good player. He's a really good shortstop, really good player. Alex Cruz hitting 333. Rafael Diaz, 6 homers, 22 RBIs. Dylan Vecito hitting it with a 2.85 ERA, 19 and 2/3 innings pitched, 26 strikeouts. And again, I think as we get down to the crunch time, which we are in for high school baseball here, injuries are going to be a factor. Obviously we talked about Manuel Sarcos. I'm sure other teams are dealing with guys who are banged up a little bit as well. So we will see how the players hold up, because obviously you want to be hot and healthy once district starts. And if you get by there and get into the regionals, brand new ball game. The regular season then becomes irrelevant, except for who or where you're playing, seedings and so forth. But if you're not playing well, you're not going to beat anybody. And we're seeing that when Flanagan's beating and Douglas, and so we're seeing things like you better show up every day, because if not, there's enough talent here that can do damage, and we're seeing that. And on the injury front, on the flip side, let's go down just in general. And for American Heritage, very welcome back Brady Snow. Brady Snow, one of the top pitchers in the country, certainly one of the top pitchers in Florida, senior class of 26, Florida signee. Brady had been out with a little bit of, I believe it was like an oblique type thing, but he's back now, and he pitched 4 innings, a shutout ball at Taravella with 6 strikeouts. And from what I'm hearing, 95 to 97. I think he hit 97 miles an hour several times. Really impressive. The slider is filthy. The fastball is electric. So getting him back is even though the season hasn't gone 100% the way the Patriots have wanted it to go, having Brady Snow back almost is a new beginning. And then on top of that, Heritage on Friday, great game against the First Academy, defending state champs, I believe 2A, and the First Academy loaded team. They got great players, D1 players all over the place. 2-1 walk-off win for American Heritage that day. Star of the game to me was easily Mason McGeehan, left-handed pitcher against a formidable lineup. 6 2/3 innings, 5 hits. I think 1 run with 4 strikeouts, but it was a masterclass on pitching to spots and mixing things up early on, getting guys, right-handed hitters out with changeups. As the game goes on, sliding a 4-seam fastball inside in these right-handers, spinning some really nice sliders, just mixing and matching, changing eye levels, did so much right. And then Kike Santos came in and got the save, and they got the win. Didn't get the save because it was a walk-off. And in the bottom of the 7th, they got a leadoff hit by Giancarlo Gandaria. JT Clark came in, sacrificed him over. There was a ground ball out, moving him a third. There was an intentional walk to Blaine Caballero to put first and third. Then Mark Asensio drew a great walk, while they're pitching to him again with 2 outs. So now the bases are loaded for the dangerous Gavin Ruvalcaba. And on 5 pitches, Gavin walked to force in a run, much needed win for Heritage. Maybe a turning point for them in a year that hasn't exactly been, rolling along. Still not hitting very much, but certainly pitching well. Again, we got to give some love to Flanagan for their 10-6 win. The beauty of that game, when you get down to it, 6A, they're in the district with St. Thomas Aquinas. It continues to roll along. They had lost 17-2 to St. Thomas, which could have been very demoralizing for Flanagan. And 2 nights later, they were on the road there at St. Thomas. 2 nights later, they go to Douglas and put together that 10-6 win. Caden Corso that day at 3 hits. Luis Gonzalez, Christian Durant-Robinson, and Edwin Nodal each had 2 hits. So the offense clearly was going. But, baseball is baseball, right? Because literally the next day they played, or it was a day later the next day, they played Cardinal Gibbons and lost 2-1. So that is baseball. That is baseball in South Florida. Another injury news, sadly, my buddy Dean Jaworski at Pembroke Pines Charter, one of the top lefties around, a kid who pulled the big upset, beating Doral Academy a couple of weeks ago. He's out with a little bit of an injury. Let's hope he can return before the season's over. That is, we don't know yet, but you hate to see anybody, obviously, but certainly the seniors, if they have to have their season and their high school career end via injury. We hope that's not the case for Dean. But again, this is a time of year. This is what's happening when you're playing 3 games in a row. We got some kids out there with a little bit of hammy injuries, little tight hamstrings. So hydration when you're playing back-to-back games, rest, diet. Guys, you got to pay attention to this stuff. Take care of your body. If you don't take care of your body, if you just show up, it's going to be harder because wins are going to get harder to come by as you get into the district tournaments that'll be coming up soon. From my understanding, I had to do a little more digging, but it used to be there'd be a host, one of the schools would host it. Let's say Flanagan in 6A, they would host, and all the teams in their 6A district would come there and play all the games there. But now I had heard something that's the higher seed. So 1 plays 4 will go to 1. 2 plays 3 will go to 2, and then they will figure out whoever wins that, the district title game will be played at the higher seed. So that'll be interesting. So it won't be like a year ago in 7A when Douglas was in there with Taravella and Western, and I'd go up to Taravella 3 straight days because that's where all the games were played, whether Taravella was in the game or not. So again, that provides a home game for the host team. So that's all coming up, and then regionals, and then on to state, and man on second will be there all along. I did want to talk a little bit about base running and fundamentals, because I saw a play happen. I put the video up, a short, in the Chaminade game against MacArthur. There was a fly ball, runners on first and second to center field, and the runner on first takes off thinking the ball's going to drop. The runner on second drifting back to tag. The runner on first touches second. The ball is caught. the runner on second is backing up. Now, if that runner on first had passed the runner on second, it would create a mess. Guys would have been out by passing a runner on the base pass, but didn't do that. But in the process of going back to first, just kind of made a beeline without retouching in reverse order second base. How the umpires missed this, I have no idea, and I'm not here to bash the umpires. The MacArthur coaches weren't too happy. They asked, and I don't know what the umpire said, because my angle from behind home plate is where the home plate umpire is looking. So again, I'm not throwing him under the bus, except for you got to be paying attention, guys. Come on, Blue. You got to be paying attention. And fortunately, it didn't really change much in terms of the outcome, but it just reminds about knowing the rules. And again, that was my pet peeve and why I went off on everyone about a month ago, is you got to know the tag up rules. You got to know if the ball is caught and you touch a base, you go in reverse order. You have to retouch every base you touch to get back to your original base. So if you're on first and you're running on the pitch and there's a fly ball in the gap and you think it's going to drop and you already touch second and you touch third and the ball's caught, you got to go back and touch third, go back and touch second, and hope they haven't doubled you up at first. In reverse order, that's the rule. You can't just be 5 feet away from the base and, as the crow flies, run back to the base. So please learn these rules. It's at least the second time it's happened. It cost a team earlier in the year a game. It cost Stoneman Douglas a game at Columbus. It was literally the last out was decided by this. So know the situations. No, you can't pay us your guys. I did notice on the walk-off when American Heritage walked off the first academy, you could see in the video there after Gavin drew his walk, some of the players as the guy from third is Giancarlo Gandaria is running home to score the winning run. Everyone's got to touch the base. You can't just go celebrate. Certain players, they all had their arms up, keeping their teammates back, not to interfere with the runner before he scores. So it seems basic, but I don't know what basic is anymore, because some stuff I think should be basic for seniors playing baseball in South Florida, or anyone playing varsity baseball in South Florida. Basics are these rules, and everyone should know these rules. And these rules, and knowing and perfecting them, are going to determine who goes to Fort Myers and who stays home. And I'd hate to have, a really good team staying home because they interfered with a base runner while trying to celebrate, or didn't touch a base, or don't know, how to retouch, don't know the real retouch rule. So please know that, guys. Very important to play the game the right way. So with that, I babbled on enough for today on the Curtain Call podcast. Everyone, again, please like and subscribe. And again, if you are so inclined, as you see this merchandise, because I'm going to keep the merchandise, geared toward stuff that you guys need. Travel season's about to come up, so if you need a bucket of baseballs or whatever, and you're inclined, you want to help the channel out, would greatly appreciate that. I don't ask much in return other than support, but if you're already going to be buying these products, click on the link, buy it there, and help out the Man on Second mission, because the more this grows, the bigger the audience. I've topped 1.3 million for the month of March, which is phenomenal. I did it in April in 28 days. In March, I hit 1.3 in 28 days. Obviously, there's 31, so hoping to get about 1.5 million views this month as we keep growing this. It's remarkable, and that's a testament to you, the audience, for sticking with what I am doing. But I appreciate everyone and their support. And I know the holidays coming up, could be an abbreviated week, but I will be out there as much as possible, getting videos and bringing this type of insight and content to you on a daily basis. So with that, again, thanks for tuning in to the Curtain Call podcast, and we will check everybody out in the next video.